I wanted to give some tips on difficult situations that are going to arise. Basically, so I'll give you an example. My car, I had to go and do a class essentially with my employees, and I was expected to obviously show up early, as any leader is. And my battery of my car died, and I knew that I had about half an hour to get there. And I thought to myself immediately, okay, let's try to turn it on. Let's do some stuff. I thought about the car sitting in the garage. The two keys were out of the house, so I can't use the car in the garage either. Well, shit. So I can either rely on a friend of mine who is notoriously unreliable to come and jumpstart my car in the morning, which I could say, okay, what are the chances that they'll be awake? What are the chances they'll be ready? And what are the chances that they'll be here before an Uber is? Pretty slim to none. So I immediately pulled out my phone and called an Uber. Mind you, I had to haul a pretty big-ass printer and a bunch of other supplies to the practice in the morning. And mind you, I didn't get very good sleep. So all of the factors in an ordinary day were stacked against me in the sense of having a good time afterwards, in the sense of enjoying life. And the reason I'm bringing up this story is because I know in my heart of hearts that there's so many people that in that situation would just say, oh my God, the entire world is against me, and this is the worst day in the world, and that I'm just gonna, after work, I'm gonna need to have a drink, and I'm gonna need to go and do XYZ things to shut out this failure in life. And I'm here to tell you that the most resilient people in society, this type of stuff does not even touch. In fact, stuff that's 10 times worse than this does not even touch them. And the reason is that they've failed so many times before. And the reason is that they've come across situations that are incredibly difficult, and they've pushed past them. That they've made it their mission to say, no, this will not hold me back, I will push through it. And so many of us are just some weak sauce when it comes to that. So I wanted to give you some tips. If you want to be that resilient person, and if you know that you are that resilient person inside, that it is very, very important to slow down in those moments just for a second and realize what your goal is. So my goal that morning, was to get to work and to go and do that course. Period. End of story. Get the printer to work. And so I know pretty straightforward that it doesn't matter that my car is not working. I can deal with that later. It doesn't matter that I don't have the keys to the other cars. I can deal with that later. What I need to deal with right now in this very moment is getting to work, which means I cannot rely on that friend, and I need to call an Uber. Called the Uber, it took 12 minutes. As it turned out, the way that life seems to work is that when we figure out our goal and we move towards it, everything else gets out of the way. Meaning, as it turns out, that the company that was doing the course didn't call me, they called the office phone. So that actually all the staff was taking the course while I was late, which is great because they're still getting the information. On top of that, as it turns out, I had some meetings, I had some calls that I had to make, and it's very difficult to make calls in the morning when we're driving and when we're sidetracked, so I got to sit in the back of the car and make those calls. And turns out that those calls were very, very important because it sets the stones for everything that will happen in the days to come. So I say all of this to you to say, listen, there's a quote in a really good, enjoyable book, Living and Dying with Grace, Counsels of Hazrat Ali, by Thomas Cleary, I think is a translation. And it says in that book that basically Ali, it is said that if Muhammad, and I'm not a very religious person, but I like legends because they're cool and they're inspiring. It said if Muhammad is the city of Islam, that Ali is the gate of Islam, meaning that if you can figure out the logic behind why it's useful to have faith in life, then you can get into the city, and Ali is that gate. And so Ali said that he, in his travels, in his pursuits, in his time with the Prophet Muhammad, that he saw a lot of people seeing this man as weak, as someone that is a pushover, is someone that really doesn't seem to have the strength to be able to carry people. And he said so. In seeing this human being, and oftentimes he would see that there's insignificance of the world in his eyes. I wish I had the book, I'd read you the entire quote, it's incredible. That this man that was perceived to be incredibly weak by society and have this almost distant look when it comes to the trifles of the world, when crisis struck, when the most difficult situations in life arose, he was a veritable viper in the valley, a veritable lion in the forest, meaning that he would strike with precision, and he would strike with incredible strength. And that is the type of person that I want to be in my life, and that is the type of person I believe deserves to be a leader in some capacity in society. Because sure, other people will perceive us as aggressive, other people will perceive us as weak, but what does their perception matter if they don't understand what we're doing in our free time, in our idle hours? None of that stuff matters. At the end of the day, having an efficient, useful approach to situations in life will make it so that the cards are stacked for us, which is why I advocate for getting educated about finance, which is why I advocate for educating yourself about spirituality, the things that keep us alive, the way that we bond with other people, our communication skills, because all of those things give us the toolkit to be able to deal with incredibly difficult situations that are bound to arise. So hopefully you found something out of this video. If you did, smash that thumbs up button. If you see this artwork behind me, go to turabify.com, turabify.com, and pick up some artwork. It would help support my business, even though I don't really care too much about making a bunch of money out of my artwork. It's not really a high priority. It's just something that I want to put out into the world, something that I believe someone might enjoy. And obviously some of this stuff is blurred. Some of this stuff is obviously not going to be on the website. But turabify.com, go buy some artwork, support this cause, and I promise you it will be used to help other people, hopefully like yourself. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care.